right, so I've got a confession to make. Yep. Not like Usher confession, but like my confession. So I was born, this is tough, but I was born a Democrat. I don't know if you knew that or not. Maybe you were born a Democrat. I have no idea. But see, when I was 4 or so, I came to the U.S. as a kid, immigrant child, legal immigrant, by the way. My mother was a resident alien. My father, a naturalized U.S. citizen, and from Mexico. And so I would listen to talk radio in Spanish, because that's what Mexicans' moms do. They turn on the music on Saturday morning and clean the house, right, and listen to talk radio. And I would hear them talking about, los republicanos no quieren a los mexicanos. Republicans do not like Mexicans. Los republicanos no quieren a la gente pobre. Republicans do not like poor people. Wow, it freaked me out as a kid. Like, I was worried that, what are these Republican people out there that don't like Mexican people, that don't like poor people? Because I was one of them. And so I heard that a lot. Then as I grew up, school here, was a cop for a while, was a soldier for a while, worked drugs, gangs, and stuff like that. I started educating myself. I started watching things. I've always been tuned into politics in one way, shape, or form. And I realized this. I learned in school, because they taught that in school, kind of, that Abraham Lincoln was killed by a Democrat. I like Abraham Lincoln. I also learned that JFK asked not what you can do what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country. That guy was killed by a Democrat. I also learned that MLK, who had a dream, was killed by a Democrat. I also learned that the lynchings of black people was done by Democrats. They owned slaves as well. The people who created Jim Crow law were Democrats. And segregation was a big thing for Democrats. The guy who created the KKK was a Democrat. Byrd, I think his name is Robert Byrd, who I believe he was Hillary Clinton's mentor, revered him, a Democrat, KKK guy. Japanese camps, Democrats were in office. I learned that the Confederacy, Democrat. I also learned that because of those things, for whatever reason, that Republicans are considered racist now for some weird reason. I don't understand that. But let me tell you something. If you educate yourself, if you identify where your morals and values are aligned with, so if your morals and values are aligned with the following: law and order, peace, respect, hard work, ethics, love for country, love for and respect for God, then those are the same values, the conservative values that I grew up with, that my mom taught me. And by the way, she instilled those values at the end of a chancla. Maybe your mom did too. Those were conservative values that I grew up with, that the Democrat Party has never really shown me, or have I seen them. I mean, look at the party today. They are willing to sell out to law and disorder just to get a vote. If you were raised at the end of a chancla, a belt, or if you were raised to respect your elders, if you were raised to work hard, if you were raised to respect your fellow man, if you were raised to help others with a helping hand up, you probably were raised with some pretty good conservative values. So you need to identify yourself with what party represents that of you. And by the way, the people who represent that party may not be perfect. They're probably flawed. They're humans, just like you, just like me. We're flawed, full of imperfections. But I tell you this, as a child, I was fooled into thinking that the Republican Party was anti-Mexicano, anti-this, anti-that. I was fooled into thinking that, but then I saw with my own eyes. When Ronald Reagan became president, poof, eyes wide open. I love what he spoke to my heart. When 9/11 happened, The line in the sand was clearly drawn. And so you need to ask yourself, where do you stand on those types of values? What values did you grow up with? Only you can answer that. Based on those values is where you're going to align yourself with. Are you going to align yourself with a party that makes everything about race, everything about color? Look, obviously you know what I am. I'm probably Latino, maybe Hawaiian, who knows, maybe Filipino, who knows, but I don't really care because you're going to judge me based on the content of my character, whether you like it or not. You see? And I'm going to respect yours as well. So where do you stand? I know exactly where I stand. I love America. I love what it represents, as imperfect as they may be. But this is the American dream, man. Is there another? If there is, show it to me. Post your comment. Tell me, what other dream is there? Where else can you go and become an entrepreneur? Become a professional actor on television and movies. I did that. And I came from nothing. So, just want to share that my confession with you guys today, because it's been eating me alive. A lot of people have been asking me, well, a few people asked me, hey, how'd you become Republican? Why'd you become Republican? What made you decide how to do that? Be a Mexican, for crying out loud. I know what I am, but I also know where my values are at. I know what my mother and father taught me. To be respectful, to love fellow man, to love my mother, my father, my brother, my sisters. Have a great day, guys.